In the very first week of the Pittsburgh Steelers training camp, George Pickens has already got into 2 altercations, one with his wide receivers coach, and now one with his teammates. So, in case if you haven't seen the video of George Pickens' altercation against his teammates in practice, it's uploaded to this YouTube channel. It's the latest short video. Go ahead and check it out. George Pickens gets into altercation with the defensive line and the defense. So this comes on the heels of George Pickens already being reported in the media that he was visibly upset and got into altercation, exchanged some words with wide receivers coach Zach Aiyuk. So let's talk about it. But first, before I get more into it, make sure you subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications for everything Pittsburgh Steelers news and updates, training camp highlights, and analysis. Now, let's get right back into it. So, in case you haven't seen, at the beginning of the training camp session, I believe in the very first or second day, it was reported by Ray Fittipaldo that George Pickens was visibly upset after exchanging some words with Zach Aiyuk, wide receivers coach, late in practice. And that was a big story in itself. And now, obviously, you look at this and you look at this video of George Pickens getting into altercation with his teammates. Some people are going to have different opinions on it. Some people are going to have an opinion on it from both perspectives. And I'll go through both perspectives of it in this video. From people saying George Pickens is the next Antonio Brown and he can't keep his temper under control. And some people basically saying this is the attitude that we need. We need people who want to get better and want to succeed. And you need to have that fight in you. So people like it, people don't like it. I'll go through both of them. But first, let me go through the one that happened first, which was George Pickens versus the wide receivers coach. Let me go through what Ray Fittipaldo had to say about the situation. Here's his quote. New receivers coach Zach Aiyuk and George Pickens got into a heated exchange late in practice when Aiyuk didn't like the way Pickens executed his assignments. Pickens didn't take kindly to Aiyuk's words. Some of the other receivers approached Pickens after the exchange, but Pickens was visibly upset. End quote. So that's what Ray Fittipaldo from Post-Gazette reported. And this was the first day of training camp. So let me just go through this. What does this mean? Well, it means that there's some sort of accountability from Zach Aiyuk towards his wide receivers group. And that's what we need. We need accountability. Because how many times last season did you see the Steelers wide receivers running the wrong route or just not being on the same page as the quarterback? We saw that a lot. So having that accountability from your wide receivers coach to the wide receivers is huge. And in this certain situation, if that's what happened, obviously this is just the perspective of Ray Fittipaldo. He's not on the field next to the two, so he doesn't know exactly what's going on. He's probably just taking a guess here. But if that's actually what it is, in terms of he didn't like the way he executed his assignments, then George Pickens is in the wrong, Zach Aiyuk is in the right. And you know this because sometimes George Pickens does get a little bit lazy on his routes. Obviously, this is just training camp. This was day 1 training camp. So obviously, you're just going through the motions. But Zach Aiyuk probably wanted him to go full go. And he wanted him to show right away what they're doing and go full speed. So you look at this and Zach Aiyuk shows some accountability. And at least it shows that he's not going to put up with these wide receivers. But the thing with this altercation is George Pickens was asked about it in the media and asked about Zach Aiyuk and the way he coaches and the way he's hard on his players. And he says he has dealt with this at Georgia with his wide receivers coach and offensive coordinator there. So he said he's used to the way that he coaches. But altogether, this altercation is just something football related. And this is for the better. This altercation is for the better. You look at this and it's only going to help George Pickens be more motivated, and it's going to push him to actually run and go full speed all the time and not be lazy. And it at least shows that something has changed in terms of accountability on offense for these wide receivers. So this altercation is really good in my perspective. Looking at the next altercation, I said there's 2 in 1 week. Well, this was 1 with the coach. Well, this next one is with the players. Like I said in the latest short video that I uploaded, it shows George Pickens going after the defensive line, going after the defense in an altercation. And it shows some pushing and shoving going on. And when you look at this, it shows at least some fight. It shows the competitiveness of the Steelers offense going against the Steelers defense. And this happens all the time in training camp. There's fights, there's altercations, there's pushing and shoving going on all the time. That's just the physical nature of football. And it just gets the competitive juices going. So this is a good thing in my eyes as well, in terms of the players this early on, without pads even being on. They're competitive. They want to show out, and they're going after each other. And that's what you expect when you go from offense versus defense. And this is a good situation as well. Unless it was George Pickens going against someone in terms of his own teammates on offense, going against the defense, no problem. I don't see any bad doing in that. It goes and gets the competitive juices going, and it's really good for the football, I believe. But that was the one perspective. That's the one perspective of, hey, that's a good thing. But people have this perspective of, hey, Antonio Brown used to do the same thing. And look how he ended up. He ended up leaving Pittsburgh on a bad note, and it's not a good thing. People have that perspective of George Pickens being a hothead, George Pickens having an ego, George Pickens having this perspective of him that he doesn't know how to keep his emotions in check. That's a perspective that some people have about George Pickens. So this altercation that we've seen with the wide receivers coach, that we've now seen with the teammates, people are saying that George Pickens, hey, just trade him, let him go. He's going to be the next Antonio Brown. But just think, if we didn't have Antonio Brown, have those altercations, we didn't have Antonio Brown do whatever he did, that would not be brought up. That Antonio Brown situation and comparing George Pickens to Antonio Brown would not be brought up. But because we did have Antonio Brown, it gets brought up and compared to him all the time. So that comparison just doesn't make sense. George Pickens hasn't done anything other than on the football field. He's not talked to the media bad. He's not done anything in the media like Antonio Brown did. But he still gets compared to Antonio Brown on the negative side. So that's the perspective that some people have already about George Pickens, about these situations. But altogether, in my eyes, George Pickens, he is a competitive player. And everything that happens for him in terms of these situations and I guess altercations is on the football field. And it's not off the football field. Everything with him happens on the football field, meaning that he loves this game and he's really motivated for it, and he's a very competitive person on the football field. Everything happens on the football field, and that's what you want. If there's going to be an altercation, have it happen on the football field and be football related. And that's what it is, and that's the best way I can describe it. Anyway, George Pickens, he is now going into his 3rd season in the NFL, and he is now the #1 wide receiver for the Pittsburgh Steelers after Deontay Johnson has been traded away. So this will be a huge and telling season for him to see if he could really be that guy at the wide receiver spot. He makes all these fantastic catches, spectacular one-handed catches, contested catches, but can he be the reliable target every single game? Every single play, a big play needed, can he be that guy? Well, we're going to have to wait and see, but he is projected to be the #1 guy. I know there's a lot of trade rumors going on, but no trade has happened, and George Pickens will be that guy and will be the #1 wide receiver and will be the one who gets double teams thrown at him because of how good he is. So George Pickens, this will be a really telling season with him, and hopefully he could show out. He got his first 1,000-yard receiving season last year with Kenny Pickett, Mitchell Trubisky, Mason Rudolph, and let's see now if he could put up those same numbers and even better numbers with Russell Wilson and / Justin Fields. So George Pickens, this was the topic about him. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below about these altercations that he apparently got in with the wide receivers coach, and then the one that he got in with his teammates with the pushing and shoving going on. Do you like it? And what perspective do you have on it? Do you have the one that's a positive note? Everything that happens with him is on the football field and it's just competitive? Or do you have the perspective on him that he's just the next Antonio Brown? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below on him. And also, make sure you subscribe to this channel and turn on notifications for everything Pittsburgh Steelers news and updates. And also make sure you like this video. I post everything Pittsburgh Steelers related content, from news to highlights and analysis. All training camp highlights from each day with analysis are on the channel, so go ahead and check it out. I'll continue to cover all of it with pads going on Tuesday. I'm going to have all of it. And also when the season starts, preseason season, I'm covering all of that as well, repeating the whole cycle throughout the off season and the regular season. So subscribe to the channel, turn on notifications, and I'll see you guys all later. Until next time, I'm out. Peace.